to get himself out of Oakland onto the New England Patriots, a team that offered a first-round pick to the Steelers for Antonio Brown back in March. Steelers were not going to trade AB to the rival Steelers at this point when it comes to trying to win the AFC, get to a Super Bowl. You definitely don't want to make the reigning Super Bowl champions that much better with AB. So I got to ask you, Eric, Antonio Brown, he seems crazy on the surface, but was he really just crazy like a fox at this point?
That is one of the best questions I think we've ever dealt with on this podcast, because the more you think through the list of events, especially the list of events with the Raiders, I know that it got to a point where he felt like the release from Pittsburgh was imminent and it was just going to happen and he would make out really well. And he did. So now he goes to the Raiders. It seemed like he wanted to be there, but maybe things got off to a rocky start, and we don't know behind the scenes what that rocky start might have been. Maybe it had something to do with his training methods or his cryotherapy or whatever, but it evolved from there. And now it's hard not to look at this situation and see that maybe there was, crazy as a fox, a master plan in place here. And I'm not necessarily implicating the Patriots yet, but we all know that it's something that the Patriots potentially would do based on their history. So we'll see whatever comes of that, or if anything ever does come of that. But it's like you have this guy who says, okay, I'm going to go to Europe and I'm going to freeze my feet off and see if they'll release me for that. Oh, nope, that didn't work. Okay, so now I'm going to complain about my decade-old helmet and see if that pisses them off. Nope, that didn't work. All right, so now I'm going to threaten physical violence and use a racial slur against my boss, my GM. Oh, crap. No, that didn't work either. I didn't get released for that. Jeez, what do I have to do? Oh, they're going to fine me. All right, so I'll put the personal fine letter up on my Instagram. Oh, that doesn't get me released either. Dang. All right, so now I had this taped conversation with my head coach, and I'm going to make a video out of it. Not only a video, I'm going to make like a Hollywood production out of this thing, and I'll put that on my YouTube. Oh, no, that doesn't work. What do I have to do to get out of Oakland? Then he gets his guarantees stripped and the fines get larger. And then he says, all right, I'm not playing for you guys anymore. And then they say, okay, then you're gone. We'll release you. So it finally came to a head with him not being willing to pay the fines and not being willing to strip his guarantees, and they release him. But Justin, does it not look like a guy crazy as a fox that's trying everything in his power? Look, I know this guy's a prima donna. I know he's a diva. We know he shows up to games in hot air balloons and Rolls Royces and fur coats, and he's a different character. Some say possibly even bipolar. I get that, but it seems to me like he was trying everything in his power to get released.
I don't think there's any way to argue that point. And to me, if I had one question for AB, it would be, at what point did you not want to be in Oakland? Was it the day you were traded and they just said, okay, we'll give you this big extension, and that kind of sufficed the situation at that point? It got him out of Pittsburgh, and it just kind of launched plan B of like, okay, I've got my money now. Maybe I can get traded out of Oakland if I'm a big enough ass. Because what I love, Eric, is the people in the media that try to take up for AB. It's like, well, guys miss off-season workouts. I mean, that happens all the time. Okay. Guys have accidents when they're training. Guys don't like their equipment. Guys are going to fight for what they want. They have a right to protect themselves. Guys don't like to get fined. Guys get into confrontations with their GMs at times. Guys don't get along with their coach. Guys want the organization to back them more. Guys want to have their own personalities on these teams. Guys want to have a social media presence. Guys are going to get in trouble. They're going to be a target. They're going to get these sexual assault allegations against them. They're going to have to fight. AB has done all of them. He's hit for the cycle of issues. Like, he has them all. It's not just one thing that you can excuse. And I talked about that weeks ago with other wide receivers in this league. If they had a cryotherapy accident and they hurt their feet, most people would give them the benefit of the doubt of like, oh man, that sucks for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. I hope he gets better. I mean, I'm sure it was a mistake. AB doesn't get that anymore. He's used up of all that capital with all this stuff because it was something else every time. And I think, Eric, this was calculated from the moment he signed his extension. Remember, AB was initially going to Buffalo. and they threw a tantrum and it wasn't going to show up, was never going to sign an extension, didn't want anything to do with Buffalo. They backed out of the deal. And then he ends up in Oakland, and he talked a good talk, but I don't think, Eric, he ever wanted to be there. I think that when it came down that they heard that the Patriots were interested, they wanted to find a way out. And I think he went there and maybe was like, all right, I'll go to camp and I'll see. Probably didn't feel like this team was going to be very good. Wasn't on the field enough to even click with Carr. I don't know how he would even be able to assess him at that point. But when you start to hear that this guy was consulting with social media people to figure out how to piss off the Raiders enough to get his release, they came up with a lot of these ideas of what to do to just keep pushing the envelope and see just what he had to do. It's like I told you, this was George Costanza trying to get fired from the Yankees. It's bodysuit man. It's dragging the World Series trophy behind the car. I mean, I was waiting for him to like go up and like put the flame out of Al Davis's like grave thing that they have at the Coliseum. It was just, I got to get out of town, and he was going to do anything he could to get out of there. And that takes to the second point. Was there back channeling? And I think there absolutely was. I think at some point, Drew Rosenhaus or somebody he's connected to got connected to somebody connected to the Patriots and said, look, we're trying to get AB out of town. We're trying to get his release before the season. We think they'll probably void his guarantees and just release him. Are you interested? What kind of parameters are we talking? Eric, he was released at noon East Coast time, and by 4:00 he was signed with the Patriots.
Right.
And you had all these other teams. He didn't visit another team. In 4 hours, they came up with a deal. Oh, and by the way, nothing that got reported until a few days later was there's a team option for year 2 of $20 million. So he got $9 million signing bonus. He gets a $1 million roster bonus. There's up to $5 million of incentives in year 1. Oh, and by the way, there's $20 million that it's a team option. They could sign him, re-sign him for next year. Guess what? That equals out to $30 million to $35 million, which is pretty much the exact money he had coming to him for the next 2 years in Oakland. So I don't see that's a coincidence, Eric. I think that there was definitely back channeling. I think they made it known to the Patriots they would be willing to come there. They'd take less money in year 1 to try to basically revive his career at this point, but putting him in New England with that offense, it just builds his brand up even further. If he can somehow win a Super Bowl, that's another notch under his belt. Eric, I don't think he ever wanted to play in Oakland. I think this was all about getting out of town, and they knew exactly where they were going to go.
I can't disagree with that at all. And especially the part about the Patriots possibly being involved with Drew Rosenhaus and this back channeling, because you're right. It was so immediate. It was so like, well, the Oakland Raiders are done with him. Maybe this guy's done in the NFL. What other team's going to touch him? Oh, the Patriots will touch him. Patriots will touch him for $9 million guaranteed signing bonus and $15 million overall. And then, oh yeah, by the way, this second year option, $20 million. The Patriots were all lined up, ready to go. So yeah, boy, it just rubs me the wrong way. And I was literally pissed off. I mean, I was actually upset. And some of that, of course, is emotional because I'm a Jets fan. And it seems like the Patriots always come up smelling like roses in these types of situations. And it really irritates me and rubs me the wrong way. But it also rubs me the wrong way because you have a guy like Robert Kraft who now has shown his character busted as a, $90 rub and tug when you have a $1 billion franchise. So you know the kind of character this guy apparently has. And he's basically saying winning is more important to us than anything that this juvenile ass twit is doing. And that's all they care about. So it really rubs me the wrong way. Now he joins the Patriots. And Justin, we got to enter into this second part of this conversation because first it was, that old song we were joking about a couple weeks ago, heads, shoulders, knees, and toes. Well, now we got to enter the penis into this because apparently he has rape accusations against him. And I don't know how the NFL doesn't take this seriously. I mean, we just come off of a time when the NFL cost the Cowboys basically a whole season of turmoil as Ezekiel Elliott was fighting in arbitration whether or not he was going to be suspended for 6 games. And it went back and forth for a whole season as he was, well, maybe he's going to be able to play this week. Maybe he's not. It was a huge distraction. Then he lost the arbitration. He had to be suspended 6 games for accusations that he was never criminally charged for. Justin, if the NFL doesn't treat this the same way and by a very minimum, at least put him on the commissioner's exempt list and say, you cannot play until we figure this out, then I am going to take my anger and animosity toward AB to like a whole different level.
And this is the box the league puts themselves in, because I think it's going to get set up where this is a civil suit. The league is going to investigate this situation. And if there's no criminal charges, they may wait till legal process comes out to see what happens in the court system. Does he try to settle with, or does he fight this all the way out? Is somehow, if he would settle, is that somehow an admission of guilt at this point? I don't know what the league, again, Eric, they've been completely inconsistent on these matters. At times they want to play judge, jury, executioner. Other times they want to sit back and let legal process play out. Honestly, I don't know what they're going to do at this point. And that's what we talked about with the Zeke situation. Why do you feel like you need to be the criminal court system at this point? Let everything play out. And if he is found guilty, then you can drop the hammer on him. But why are you going to play that someone is guilty before proven innocent at this point? You're doing the complete opposite of the way the legal system is set up. So from that standpoint, if he would settle this somehow, I think then the league needs to do something. But if somehow he decides to fight this and goes to court and he's not charged and has to pay any type of monetary fee to the accuser, it's found out that it is a money grab situation. As much as he's a pain in the ass, I wouldn't want to see him get suspended or taken off the field for accusations, because that stuff could literally happen to any of us. If you get put in the wrong situation where someone is accusing you of something and you're fighting for your life, and then your company is suspending you and putting you in this light, and then you have to fight for your reputation back. AB doesn't have much of one left. This might be bad timing. For him, it might be perfect timing for the person that's accusing him of this. But at that point, Eric, I think this is a league problem from the past that they're going to have to figure out going forward. Okay, what role do we want to play? What do we want to be looked at? You're never going to make everybody happy, but at least be consistent in what you're going to do. Either when this stuff comes up, you're automatically suspending guys just for their name being brought up, or you're going to wait for it to play out in the court system. You can't keep going back and forth.
And look, she might be lying. The fact that this is not a criminal case is really just because she didn't place charges with the police department. She did it with a civil suit. And the only thing about the money grab, though, is that she's only asking for $75,000. So whether you're guilty or not, if I'm AB, I'd pay that and make it go away. And I'm not, look, I'll be the last guy to say that we don't take rape accusations seriously out of our athletes, our celebrities, or really anybody, of course. But I understand that they're in a position where money grabs are possible, but she's only asking for $75,000, which to him is not a lot of money. So it is a really bizarre situation. You would think if it were a money grab, she'd be asking for a whole lot more than that. And it's odd that she didn't place criminal charges with the police department and only civil charges. So I do think that there is a way that AB is going to make this go away. And so then, yeah, you're right. How do you deal with that if you're the NFL? It's certainly, he's guilty in the court of public opinion, although he may not be guilty in reality. I understand that. But whatever happened to this Me Too movement? Remember when we were trying to get a Supreme Court justice passed in this country, and there was accusers of him, having passed allegations against him? They were going to take his livelihood. They were going to not allow him to move forward to be a Supreme Court justice because of accusations that were unproven. We see that with the Me Too movement all along. And yet now, for some reason, we're just going to ignore the Me Too movement. You can't have it both ways. You either have to follow through and find out if she is telling the truth and these accusations are true, or you can't have it both ways. It's something that's really frustrating. But the league, I mean, you're right. They're in a box. What do they do with this? And overall, what do you do with a player like this? Again, it just irritates me that the Patriots have basically signed up to say, winning is more important than all of the other stuff that he's doing as a diva distraction. I just think it's despicable. I really, really do. So we'll see. And I've pretty much every hour I go to the trending AB on Twitter and see if there's anything new. And there's nothing new that's really dropped in the last couple of hours with this as we record. I don't know, Justin, is this guy going to last the whole year on this team?
Boy, that's a good question. And even I think that came up earlier too, just to kind of go back to your earlier point where Dan Patrick had talked about that with Mike Florio earlier in the day here on Wednesday, where Mike Florio felt like in order for this to go to federal trial, there's something in the bottom that says it's at least $75,000. So it actually could be more. There's some conflicting reports about how much she's actually asking for So that might be something to keep an eye on of how much actually is in this law.